Hello everyone. Bitcoin today crossed 102K. So definitely the vibes are high, and when the vibes are high, one of the things that we talk about is media, PR, coverage, and stories. So here we are today to talk about the media landscape, and we have like two amazing guests here. Arijit from Cointelegraph, and we have Vic from MarketAcross. So before we dive in right into the panel, let me give you a quick introduction about myself. I'm Shilika, Jain. I lead PR and partnerships at Myosin. We're a growth marketing DAO in US, and we service some of the biggest clients, including Rari Foundation, Near, Rootstock Labs, and today we're going to talk about everything media and PR. Let's have a quick round of intros, you guys.
Hi guys, I'm Arijit. I work for Cointelegraph. I've been working with them since 2021 and I joined in as an editor. Currently I handle the editorial calendar for Cointelegraph. So basically my job is to plan things months ahead of time. So it can be any notable milestones or any events or just a price prediction. Uh, Over to you, Itai.
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm
Vic.
Vikas Shukla. I'll be replacing Itai Elizur, who is our CEO and managing partner. He had to fly back because of something urgent came up. And I'm the lead content strategist at MarketAcross. We are like the world's leading Web3 PR agency. And my job is to brainstorm and come up with ideas, how to build narratives, how to position our clients in a particular way. So folks like Arijit pick their stories. So that's basically what I do.
Cool. Sounds great. Glad to have you both here. So let's just quickly dive in. My first question to you, Vic, would be that media and PR is such an important thing in the Web3 space, right? But I think a lot of early stage founders don't really know how Web3 PR works. So could you just like quickly take us through what is the difference between traditional and Web3 PR, and why is this so important?
Okay, so Web3 PR requires a lot more authenticity and transparency, to be honest. I mean, you have to go beyond what's possible to be authentic. I mean, let's first start with community. Web3 is all about building a community. A community is different from followers. If you have like 10,000 people on X or Twitter, that's your followers. That's not a community. A community is something that survives and thrives even when you are temporarily absent. So your job as a project in a Web3 project is to nurture a community. So you have to go above and beyond in terms of transparency, authenticity, to build your project, to connect with people, to nurture your own community. I think that's the main difference we have with Web3 PR.
Good. And Arijit, coming to you, I think like Bitcoin crossed 102K, right? There was like a lot of hype around AI, deepen. So what do you think about like the narratives in space? Do journalists like actually create narratives or they follow narratives? Like what are your thoughts on that?
So when it comes to crypto journalism, there are so many changes in the trends. So for example, if I go on a 1 week vacation, when I come back, everything has changed basically. So you need to be on top of what's happening. You need to love what you're doing. You need to actually have a real interest in crypto. And that's the only way you can actually follow trends and actually, identify any changes that's happening. So when it comes to creating narratives, there are some cases wherein, like for example, there is any new type of technology. When NFTs initially came out, people were not too much aware of what's going on with them. So that's when we would actually, have some kind of explainer articles. So it's not necessarily any new NFT project that has come. We would not necessarily cover those, but on a general aspect, like, what solutions these new companies are coming up with, and what are the possible use cases in the real world, because for cryptocurrency or the blockchain industry, the main agenda is to decentralize the world, decentralize the economy. So we try to bring out narratives based on whatever new innovations are happening and how it's supporting or furthering the agenda of what Bitcoin was created for.
So if I'm rightly understanding, what you're trying to say is like narratives are like you try to tap narratives that are pretty impact driven. So if there's impact, then that's a narrative. If there's no impact, there's no narrative.
You're right. And to be honest, like, we as a publication are working for our readers. So we need to make sure that we are putting out actual news that has a real impact on them. And it is not just a fluff piece, like speaking on behalf of a company, just so that, they could have a few more investors. So our interest is the reader's interest. And we always look forward to working on that direction.
Got it. Makes sense. And I think if we're talking about that, a question to you, Vic, is that since the industry is so narrative impact driven, right, what do you think is the right PR strategy for projects? Because I think like most of the early stage projects, a lot of them don't even have a product. They're trying to kind of build a community. They're using different sort of channels, right, to get as much attention as they can. So in that case, what do you think is most effective PR strategy that any project should start with?
Okay, my suggestion would be to pick your battles. You cannot follow every narrative out there. So sometimes when there are hyped up narratives, you have to let go of it because your project might not be relevant. So you have to figure out if my project is really relevant to this narrative. If it is, go 100% ahead. And if it's not, hold yourself back, wait for the right narratives or right types of hype, then build or then start pushing PR.
Or pitch it to the right journalist, maybe?
Of course, of course. I mean, you cannot spam. Folks like Arijit and other reputed journalists get like 300, 400 emails every single day. They cannot read everything. So they scan an email or the headline and then quickly make a decision whether it's something that they want to look into. And then, everything else goes for a toss. So you have to engage the attention of the journalist first if you want to reach your readers, organically, basically.
Good. So I think since we talk about getting coverage, right, especially coverage from Arijit, I think relationship is pretty important. So one of the things I personally would like to learn from Arijit is that how do you build authentic relationships with journalists, and like what are some ways that people can actually reach out to you and you actually cover their pitches?
Well, Shilika, you have been in the PR space for so long, and I would recommend people to do exactly what you have been doing, which is initially, try to make contact like you do with cold emails and such. Try to get your telegram or a phone number, and then basically see, what are the basic interests of the journalist. Also, you need to see the publication at hand. So depending on the publication, there are certain restrictions or editorial guidelines that a journalist needs to follow. So even if a story interests a journalist, it not necessarily sits well with the editorial team. So in that regards, I feel you need to have that kind of transparency and not feel bad about not getting any responses. Sometimes it is really difficult for us to respond to everybody, because if as Vic mentioned, we get hundreds of emails every day, and if there is a story that that we want to pursue, then we just pursue that story, and we actually don't go ahead and respond to everybody else saying that, hey, we are not able to do this, and we don't have the time to explain why not. But initially we do that. So when we are initially getting in touch with any PR representative for the first time or the first few times, we actually let them know that, hey, by the way, these are the things that my publication will not cover usually. So, and these are the things that we prefer. So there is a preference of journalists as well, and also the media house that they are working in. And as a PR representative, it's your job to actually identify what those two things are, and then pitch a story that falls under the radar.
So in short,
please continue.
Sorry. So in short, Arijit is trying to say that know your goddamn journalists and know the media that you're pitching to, right?
Yeah, just everybody is humans.
So any projects out there in the space or any early stage founders, I think this is a huge tip for you. If you're trying to pitch to a journalist, trying to pitch to a media, just know them, do your research, just get to know what they cover, what they like, what's the trend, how do you fit in. I think all of these things are pretty important. Over to you, Vic.
Yeah, it goes a long way when you have been reading the publication, when you have been following the journalists, you know what they like, the kind of narratives they are interested in, and then you customize your pitch for that journalist specifically, then there are better chances of landing, securing his attention. I'm not saying guarantee an articles or something, just to get his attention. It's that difficult.
Good. Cool. Moving forward to the next question, I think when we talk about Web3 PR, there's so much pitching, there's so much back and forth, right? And we face a lot of challenges as Web3 PR. Like, it's easy for a project to say that, get us on Cointelegraph, get us on Coindesk, we want to be on the front page, but that's very difficult. Like, really, really difficult. So could you please tell me what are the challenges that you faced with Web3 PR? And give me, 3 best tips to pitch a journalist.
Okay, so I would start by saying that most journalists, especially at big publications like Cointelegraph, are not interested in token listing announcements. So your best bet is if you are building something cool, something interesting, something super interesting, only then you stand a chance. Otherwise, you have to take another route, which is Newswire, then use services. There are a bunch of services that you can use. But if you want to go through a journalist, you have to respect his time. You have to be interesting enough to get his attention. And I would suggest some don'ts rather than do's. Yeah, so one thing would be to don't start spamming the journalist. If he's not interested, if he's not responding, respect his time and attention. That's one thing. Second thing is that don't just blindly follow a trend. If you are following blindly, maybe your own situation, you are a project still building, and the narrative is way ahead of where you want to be. So you have to realize the gap between where you are and where the narrative is, and respect that gap. So these are 2 main points that I would say.
I'd like to add on to that. So you're absolutely right. Like, we often avoid token listings, but it's definitely not something that we don't consider. So if, for example, Cardano recently launched a stable coin, or like PayPal also has their own coin, like these are the kind of advancements that we would actually be wanting to cover. So in that regards, like, we do want the PR people to keep us updated with what's happening. But at the end of the day, like, as you mentioned, that any new token listings or, even if you are like world's first for something or India's first for something, that does not warrant a coverage. Just because you are first on something, it does not mean that it could be newsworthy at that moment. But even if you are a PR agency trying to help out a new company get into these places, so keep on updating the people about the new developments that's happening. So if there's a new L1, for example, that wants to get published, basically. So if suppose you reach out to me and I, for example, if I don't respond to it, or maybe like I say that this is not under our radar, that does not mean that I don't want to know about what they are doing in the future. Like if they have added a new chain, if they have launched a new wallet, or any interesting D-apps that they're working on, or if maybe like they have partnered with a company that is directly working with the governments. So like, these are the kind of angles that we actually look into. So we actually look a little deeper. We often get a lot of press releases, which shows like a lot of big numbers and big names and such stuff like that. But when we dig into it, like, I reach out to the company and ask them, like, what's the TVL, and what kind of people are, how many users do you have? So that time, even they stop responding to us, because they know that where this conversation is going, and they don't have those numbers that would actually intrigue a journalist to cover. So as PR representatives, when you're, speaking to the journalist, like, we need these kind of information. So it's not just the surface level. I would recommend you to work with the company and have those extra information at hand as well. So, you could share the press release and you could give those extra information to the journalist saying that, hey, this guy, he has previously worked here and here, and, they have got backing of this person. So like some kind of background. It's not just about the PR piece, but it's also about the information surrounding the ecosystem and the people involved.
That's great, Arijit. I really want to just add to what you said. So my advice to founders, especially emerging startups, Web3 startups, would be to back up your claims. I have come across like dozens or hundreds of projects that claim to be the world's largest. They're still building. The product is not live yet. They have a decent community, but they're like, we are the world's first or world's largest this DEX or that DEX or anything. I would say before you reach out to a journalist, back up your claim. Because if you are really the world's largest XYZ, Arijit would be like, why haven't I heard about you from a dozen different sources in the past? That would be an obvious question. So it's not just about making a bold claim, it's about backing up your bold claim. Always do that. Always be prepared before you reach out.
That's a good point.
Don't spam, always update them, make sure that you're backing up your claims. So these are like few pointers to take note of, everyone sitting in the audience. But I think like most of you all don't know, but I did have like a good journalist background. I used to write for a couple of crypto publications. And back then I had like people coming to me and be like, we would pay you $500, can you cover us? I think we've heard that experiences. This is something that's pretty common in an industry, especially with Cointelegraph. I think everyone wants to be on, right? So when I'm talking about this point, and the reason I'm talking about this point is to talk about ethical dilemmas. And with PR, it's just so important. With Web3 PR, it's just so important to talk about ethical dilemmas. So coming to you, Arijit, like what are the ethical dilemmas you face as an editorial lead at one of the biggest publications in the crypto space?
So, our journalists, like whenever we do any kind of hiring, we actually try to make sure that the ethos of journalism is intact and the way that they see the crypto space is aligned with the cryptocurrency or the blockchain community as well. So what happens is, especially when a new PR firm might be, they might be desperate to get some company onto the publication, they would actually end up offering you some kind of, compensation, or they would try to get a personal angle like, hey, I really need this. Can you please make it happen? So during these times, what happens is, our team members, we are so in sync that we actually end up informing each other about this, and we actually let our editorial team know about it, that this guy is basically compromised. So we always analyze the people that we interact with. So like Vic's organization, MarketAcross, like they are really credible people, and they have got a lot of people that they are in touch with. Even Shilika and her PR initiative, she is in touch with many companies. So we often end up going to the selective people that we trust, and whenever we need to get in touch with any company, we would often ask them that, hey, do you have a contact there? Because I'd like to get some comments on it, something like that. So this is one thing, and the other part is like, we never know, like, when a writer, like what kind of intention they have. So they end up pitching some news, some random news, which feels quite off. So we get a feeling that, there could be some other agenda as well. So we actually speak to the journalists, let them know about, what we do and what we don't, and basically keep an eye on them and make sure, like, our readers get the best of us.
Okay, that's great, Arijit. I just want to add to what you just said. So what happens typically is when a journalist reaches out to an expert, either through a PR agency or directly to maybe a founder, CMO, whatever. So the journalist is usually looking for expert insights, commentary, their useful ideas and insights. But what happens is typically, especially new Web3 startup founders, they start shilling about their own project, their own token. That turns off journalists and that ruins the entire relationship. So this is just a starting point. Start providing valuable information that the journalist would really be happy to share with his readers. So that's one of the key points. So avoid shilling about your own project and reply to what the journalist is interested in.
I think we're coming back to that same point, right? It's all about relationship. It's all about like building trust. It's all about being authentic. It's all about being transparent. It's all about not shilling, right? The more real you are, the more likely that there are chances of you getting some good coverage out there in the space. And I think like we're all aware that crypto is all about like token pumps and things like that. But one of the other things that that crypto is known for is scams, rug pulls. For example, like we're in India, the WazirX hack, one of the biggest hacks in the Indian ecosystem. So we're all aware about situations like this, right? And PR as well as media, they play an important role in these kinds of situations. So my question to you, Vic, is that crisis comms is such a sensitive situation in the space, and like, you know, and that's why it also shows how PR as well as the journalists, they need to work more closely to actually get like good coverage, to actually report what's kind of happened, right? So can you share a bit more about how PR managers manage crisis situations, as well as give your insights on anything crisis that's happening in the space?
Cool. So that's a really interesting question. So this is going to be my personal perspective rather than MarketAcross's stance. So I believe in times of crisis, there are a bunch of things involved. There are legal issues, there are ethical issues, there are security issues, there are other considerations from VCs. Everybody has got their own interests on the table. So my personal perspective is to do what's in the best interest of the community, because if the community loses their faith in your project, the project is literally finished. So do what's in the best interest of the community, and tomorrow maybe you'll be able to bounce back. But if you look for yourself, I just want to get all the money that there is and run away, then that's like bullshit. That's my personal opinion.
I'll just add one more point to that. So sometimes what happens is that, you know, some PRs, they have some kind of misleading information. It might not be totally misleading, but you know what happens is a company or a PR representative misinterprets what the company is actually doing, and they end up sharing a different set of information that gets published. So in that case, transparency is really important for us as well as the PR agents as well as the readers. So if we are making any kind of changes to the article, we definitely make sure that you know, we reflect that in the article. We mention it at the very top about what was incorrect and what has
been changed.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of transparency is expected, like from both the parties, from PRs as well as the journalists.
Good, definitely. I agree to everything. I think y'all cover everything in a holistic way. But my question to you, Arijit, on this one is that basically, I think like somewhere I, as a PR person, I feel like PR people are looked down upon, right? Like people just feel that we're trying to message journalists all the time, spam them, just tell them cover this story, please cover this story and that. But coming to you, Arijit, I want to understand what's like the importance of PR people to media, because media is always like looked up to, right? Like Arijit from Cointelegraph or someone from CoinDesk or someone from Block. But I think PR is not like really given that much importance. So from a media standpoint or from an editor standpoint, how important it is for journalists to work with media, and like what is the value add that the media people or the PR people provide to you guys?
So the PR ecosystem is absolutely essential and important for journalists. They are the ones who actually have a lot of contacts, and they actually contact those companies on behalf of us and make our jobs pretty easy. But what you said about, you know, how like agencies constantly text journalists, let me tell you that we are also on the same page. We constantly text people for comments, for new information. It might not necessarily always be a PR agency, but we are also directly in touch with a lot of companies. And, you know, most of the times our questions get unanswered. They don't even reply to it. So I totally get, like, how you must be feeling about it. But to be honest, journalists never look down upon PR agents. We actually see you as a team member and a really important one.
I really appreciate what Arijit said, and I want to add a couple of points. So I believe PR isn't looked down upon from a media person's perspective, because I have been in the media game for long enough to realize that. I used to write for entrepreneur.com, Forbes, and every other, major publications, Web2 publications, before I joined MarketAcross. So I believe that PR people respect, journalists respect PR people who are relevant, who consistently provide quality information. They really respect these PR people. So only the people who are spammers are looked down upon.
Definitely. I think like this is something that I've kind of faced personally, but over the period of years, I think like things are changing, things are shifting, but journalists want maximum coverage, right? Like editors want to max out on coverage, PR people want to max out on hits. Every other client is like, how many hits can you get us in 1 month? So PR being such a tricky space that it's just so difficult to kind of like judge what KPIs we can provide to the clients, what value we can add to the clients, right? And coming to that question, Vic, what do you think is a realistic like ROI, or how should projects judge whether, the efforts or the resources that they're putting into PR is actually yielding them results? So what's a good success metric? Because we're doing all of the work, we're reaching out, spamming to journalists sometimes or most of the times.
Okay,
But yeah.
I'll be honest with you guys. PR is important, but PR is not the most important thing that you should be allocating your resources to. That's the first thing to note. Second thing is that PR takes time to deliver results. When you are doing articles, KOL campaigns, thought leadership, everything adds up over time. It's not like you get one article on Cointelegraph and your fortune changes. It has to be consistent effort over a long period of time, like 1 year or 2 years, to deliver good results for you. That's what I think.
Good. And what are some of the common mistakes to both of y'all? What are the common mistakes that people do in Web3 PR or while engaging with media, while trying to get coverage? So just quick 2 points from both of y'all, like 2 no-nos from your side while engaging with the media.
Arijit, you want to go first?
Sure. So, first of the things, a biggest no-no is like, trying to oversell through misinformation, essentially. So journalists never appreciate that. If we are burned once by some representative, we are really skeptical of what they could offer us next. So, and like the other part is that, feel free to, send us as many stories as you can. So what we do is even if you don't get a response, it does not mean that, we are not expecting or hoping. We do hope for our inboxes to be full all the time. And it's like a daily ritual that all journalists follow, I'm sure, is, scroll through your inbox and all the other places which helps you get news. And so that's the second point is, be persistent, but obviously don't, get into their space while they are working, because they have a newsroom to run and it's really hectic sometimes.
One thing that I want to add is journalists are interested mostly in finding out the truth. So, I was working with somebody who had pivoted multiple times over the years. So as a representative, when I reached out to journalists and the journalists did a quick search, inbox search, they found a lot of details about this project in the past when they were like a gaming company, a DeFi company, whatever. And then the journalists started digging into it. They sent us a few questions, and the CEO was like, no, I don't want to answer those questions. Then I'm in dilemma, what to do? The right approach would be to be as transparent as possible with the journalists. So it also depends on the client. So are you comfortable with providing all the information the journalist wants. I mean, the journalists are looking for truth, so they can share it with their readers. That's what matters, to them at least. So be comfortable, and if you're not comfortable, be upfront about it.
Be persistence, be consistent, be transparency. With every other question, I think like this is what we're coming to a conclusion, and this is what is how the future of PR and Web3 media is shaping. Final thoughts from both of y'all on how do you think the future of Web3 PR is shaping in the next couple of years? What trends do you see right now coming together?
That, I mean, I can share a few things. There is going to be a lot more competition. That's the first thing. I mean, everybody is fighting for journalists' attention, readers' attention. There is going to be crazy amount of competition for attention, of course. And the thing is that I believe at some point even PR agencies would be like, I want to tokenize my agency.
We're doing that. So Myosin, as a DAO, we have like a token, and we're going to come up with the token and tokenize everything. So it's going to be an agency that tokenize stuff, and people can get rewarded in tokens for just doing work. So the future is here, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I feel that, earlier the market was really segregated. The PR agencies, we did not have dedicated PR agencies for crypto. And that's the reason we would actually miss out on a lot of small developments on a grassroots level. Right now, things are much more organized, and we are in touch with PR agencies who specialize in particular, different crypto spaces. So some have got their knack in NFTs, while others in DeFi space. So I think that's where the future is headed, is specialization. Each PR firm having their own specialization and approaching to journalists with the similar traits. And yeah.